And apart from this, we also have an option of we see an administration section. I'll be talking about this in detail later on in the course. And we do have few additional options here, guys, that you don't have to really worry about. So this is all about the navigation that you need to know, guys. Now that we have a comfort level with the navigation in Fusion HCM Cloud, let's get started with the security part. Let's get started with the security part. And what is the first simple thing that we're going to do? Assume that we have logged in as a HR of Emerson. And what is it that we need to do? We need to, yes, we have logged in as a HR of Emerson. And assume that one of you joined Emerson. Okay, assume that there is an employee called John Doe who has joined Emerson. Let's avoid personal names. I say John Doe. Assume that John Doe has joined Emerson as an employee. So we need to create a user for him. We need to create a user for him. So what do I do as a HR? Yes, I logged into the application and I need to create a user for John Doe who has joined Emerson as an employee. So how do I create a user how do I create a user in the application, guys? There are plenty of options, right? I can click on the navigator. I can go to security console. I can use this springboard to go to tools and security console, or I can search for security console from here. I'm just showing you all the possibilities. I can go to that specific page, either using springboard or navigator, or I can search for it here. And if it has been added as a favorite, I can even go to favorites and I can even click on that as well. So 4 different ways to go to a specific page in the application. I'm not trying to confuse you. I'm just trying to reiterate the same concept multiple times so that it sits in your brain. Okay. So I'm in a users tab here. I'm a HR of Emerson and I'm here to create a user for John Doe who has joined as an employee in Emerson. Now, how do we create a user, guys? I click on add user account and I have to enter a username and password. And what's the username that we enter, guys? I enter John, I enter Doe here. Now, do you see any magic happening on the screen, guys? I entered the first name and the last name. As I enter first name and the last name, the moment after I enter a first name and last name, the moment I tap out, what is it that we see, guys? Let's change it to 1 here. The moment I enter a first name and last name and tab out, do you see a username getting generated here, guys, automatically? Yes or no? Let me change the last name and you see the username getting generated automatically. How is it that it is getting generated, guys? Do you see any pattern there? I won't proceed, guys, until you answer. Is there any pattern that you see there? What's the pattern that we have? First name is John, last name is Doe. What is the pattern that we see?
It is first name and last name.
First name dot last name.
First name dot last name. Now the point is, who has told HCM that I want the username to be generated as first name dot last name? Well, that is mentioned in the user category. So when you are defining a user, you will be choosing a user category, and that user categories would be available here. So if you go to that user category, you will see a username generation rule mentioned there. And let me show you that. And I'll stay in this particular screen. And I will go ahead and open the Fusion application again. I'll open the Fusion application again. And I would go to a security console. Okay, I go to security console again. I've just kept that tab open because I want to keep referring back to it. So I can click on the favorites here. I can click on users. That would take me back to the user screen again. And we go to user categories. And in the user category, what is the user category that I'm using to create this user default, right? So I go to the default user category, and in the default user category, we see that there are a few things that are mentioned. We'll talk about all of them, guys. So when you go to user category, the first thing that we see is if I edit this, there is a username generation rule attached here. Now, what's a username generation rule that is attached here, guys? There are 4 options to choose from. What is the option that is chosen? That is selected first name dot last name. Since the option that is selected is first name dot last name here, what do you see happening here, guys? The moment I enter John as a first name, last name as Doe, I'm able to see the username generated as John.Doe here. That's because the username generation rule is first name dot last name. What if I change it to email, guys? What if I change it to email? I changed it to email. Let's go ahead and try to create an user again. And I enter John, I enter Doe, and I'm going to enter the email address of John Doe. And let's say this is his email address. Assume that this is his email address. Now, the moment I enter an email and tab out, what is the username that is generated now, guys? What's the username that we see? Is it email? Yeah, it is not a first name dot last name that we are seeing. Instead, it is the email that is getting defaulted as a username here. Now, how did this change take effect? Because I went to the user category, and in the user category, I said, use email as a username. That's why you see this behavior. So how exactly the username should get generated for a user when you create it, when a HR creates it, is going to be controlled from here. Now, what would happen if you mention it as, say, F last name? What does F means, guys? F means a first letter from the first name and the complete last name. If I go ahead and save and close, let's just try this one last time. I go ahead and try to create a user. I would enter the first name as John and last name as Doe. And the moment I enter John Doe, what is the username that is generated, guys? It is first name. What did I choose here? What did I choose here? I'm not sure if any of you have a recording turned on. You don't need to record it, guys. You don't need to record it, guys. Nitin, I think you don't unmute yourself because I can hear my voice back. Okay, looks like there is a problem with your audio. Okay, so please don't unmute yourself. And in case you have a recording turned on, you can turn it off because we would be recording the session and we'll be giving you access to them anyways. You are unnecessarily wasting your resources at your end. Okay. Now, if you go to a username generation rule here, since I changed it to F last name, what's going to happen, guys? Meaning it's going to pick up the first letter from the first name, J from John, and it's going to pick up the complete last name, J Doe. That's how it is getting created. So how exactly you want the username to be created can be controlled from here. So I'm going to change it back to, say, first name dot last name. I'm going to click on save and close. And I'll go back and try to create a user with a name as John Doe. And I would also enter an email here. And I would enter an email that I use to monitor the notifications. Okay, so I would be entering an email that I can access, because what I want to show you is as soon as you create a user, there will be a welcome email sent to the employee or sent to the user on this particular email address. Ideally, you would be entering the email address of John here. But since we don't have a John to open his email and show it in a session, I'm entering an email that I have access to so that I can show you that welcome email. And I enter the welcome email. I enter an email address on which I want to receive the notification. You can capture a phone number. Username is defaulted as first name dot last name John.O. Leave it that way. And you can enter a password. And even the password, how complex the password should be, What is the password complexity? You see the password policy that has been selected as simple here. This is also something that you can control from the user category. If you go to password policy, here you can mention how exactly you want the password, how complex the password needs to be. You can mention it here. So if you say password complexity simple, what does it mean, guys? Password complexity simple means a password has to be at least 8 characters and there has to be one number in it. So I would be entering the password as welcome1 here. And I would be entering the same password, welcome1. I enter a password and I confirm it. And to the user, to John Doe, I need to assign a role here, guys. See, the point is, after you create a user, when that user logs into Fusion application, what do they get to see in the application is controlled by the roles assigned to the user. Okay, it's a role-based access control that you have in Fusion Cloud. Role-based access control. Shortcut is RBAC, meaning when whatever roles you assign to the user, those roles are going to control what exactly user gets to see when they log into the application. Now, since we are hiring John Doe as an employee, what is it that I should do, guys? I should be assigning an employee role to him. I should be searching for an employee role and I assign it to him. Now, when I search for employee role, I could see that there are two roles coming up here. Name is same, but when you look at the role code, you see that one of them doesn't have Aura underscore at the beginning. Another one has Aura underscore. Now, why are you seeing the duplicate roles, guys? When you search for the role here, why are you seeing duplicates here? I'll be answering this question in tomorrow's session because I need at least 15-20 minutes for it. And there are a few more things that you need to know in security before you understand that bit. So the point is, when you search for a role in the dropdown here, when you search for any role, it is quite possible that you might see duplicates. One role will be there without Aura underscore like this, and one role will have Aura underscore. Okay, one has Aura underscore, one doesn't have it. Now the point is, when you choose any specific, so okay, when you see duplicates, a thumb rule is you should always choose a role that starts with Aura underscore. Now, if you ask Prasad, why the hell are we seeing duplicate roles? First of all, tomorrow by this time, you know the answer. And for now, just remember that you have to pick up a role that starts with Aura underscore. And this role that we are choosing here is called as an abstract role, guys. In a Fusion application, there are different types of roles that are possible. Okay, there are different types of roles we have in Fusion Cloud, guys. You have abstract roles, job role, duty role, and so on. And we'll be talking about that in the next few sessions in detail. Now, the first role that we are trying to add to a user is an employee role. Now, why is this a role? Employee, contractor, or a line manager, why are they called as abstract roles, guys? They are called as abstract roles because if Emerson hires 1 lakh employees, we will be assigning the same employee role to all 1 lakh employees. And this role is going to give access of a bare minimum screens to an employee. Like whenever an employee logs in, they should be able to see me section, they should be able to see pay slips, they should be able to apply for a leave and so on, right? So whatever are the bare minimum screens that every employee should be able to see in an application, user gets access to it if he assign this employee role. And since this role is not giving access to any module functionality, John Doe is not going to get access to payroll or is not going to get access to absences. It is a role that we are assigning to him to give access of bare minimum screens that every employee should access. I want to give access of those screens to John Doe. And how am I doing it? I'm doing it by assigning an abstract role called employee. What are the other abstract roles we have, guys? Contractors, line managers, etc. So why are they called abstract? Because they give access of bare minimum screens that should be visible to an employee, line manager, or contingent worker. It doesn't give access to any modules. It doesn't give access to payroll or a general ledger or accounts receivable module. And that's why it's called as an abstract role. So you choose that specific role and you click on add role membership. And I'm going to hit save and close. Now, the moment you do this, what would happen? John Doe will immediately receive a welcome email on this email address. And in that welcome email, there will be a link to reset the password as well. So you see the username is created. The user is created for John Doe. And John Doe he would have received an email notification on this particular email address. So let me log into the email, guys. Log into that Gmail, and I'm going to share my screen back again in a moment. Now you see here, guys, this is an email that I've received 0 minutes ago. So this is an email that I've received on this particular email address. Whatever is the email address that I've entered when I created a user on this email, I've received this welcome email. And what does it say, guys? It says Vision welcome email. It says, Dear John Doe, congratulations, your account is created. And there is also a link given that we can use to reset the password. So what can John Doe do, guys? He can copy the link and he can try to access it. And when he clicks on a link, what does it show him, guys? It would show him an option to reset the password. So what does it mean, guys? It means that Prasad has created a user for John. Prasad is a HR of Emerson and he has created a user for John Doe. And Prasad, as a HR, need not tell John Doe that his password is welcome1. Instead, when he receives a welcome email, in that email, there is a link to reset the password. And John Doe can very well reset his password and set it to the one that he likes. So let's say I reset the password to welcome123. Let's say I reset the password to welcome123. And I go ahead and submit it. And after the password is reset, what is it that we can do? So yes, the password reset is done. And then he would be taken back to the login page again. Now he would be entering his username and a password so that he can get into the HR system of Emerson. So as an employee, John Doe is trying to log into the HR system of Emerson.